just to talk about my piece here specifically, but it gives us a little bit of a background on how it is born and what's my philosophy behind my study of light. And all comes to analyze what happens on these new LED screens that are in the cities. And in fact, this piece was made specifically for a screen in the city because it was initiated by Lux Helsinki, where they have a very big media screen of 12 by 12 meters. But now I want to, after some months, because we did this in January, I wanted to, I thought about it, and so I decided to make a small presentation of what I call now the virtual window, because that's what these screens are, in my opinion. Here's the background. So what is a window? So the thing is, a window, I think it's the limit between different spaces. So in general, we have outside and inside, and it is a source of light. Generally, we know that it is a source of light because we know in the architecture that light comes in the building, but we also know that light also comes out from the building. This is one of my first video I made in a time lapse. It was more than, I think, 15 years ago when they started the digital cameras. So you see that light also comes out from a window. So a window is something that connects spaces, and in some cases, spaces are virtual spaces, are not just physical spaces. This is how a new thing that I have in mind. For example, and I say the screen is a window. A screen is a window. Let's see what these two wise old men say. One is Jan Dibet, who is a Dutch conceptual artist. He says, a photograph does not reproduce an image, it records variations of light. So in the first thing, when we have a media, we have something that has, for example, if it is a picture or if there is a movie, it has recorded light, and then it's recording. So when you have the recording. And then the philosopher Paul Virilio says images have become a new form of light. So we have the double of the process. The process is media can capture light, and media, let's say media devices, are a new form of light, so they can bring it back. So this is something that is based on the theory of my idea that the screen is a window. We know from that every day we use small screens that maybe are small windows from which we connect to the digital world, but in fact they all emit light. So in the sense of lighting emitting window, they are small windows that emit the light from, for example, the internet, who is in outer space. Or outside, we are more and more faced to these big windows, and it should be like thought architecturally that they are windows. In the architecture, when you're putting a screen, you need to think you're putting a window from the light point of view. So now let me make a process to see how, for example, this process of light that travels to media, it is working, and how do I analyze it. For example, I'm taking as example a part of this movie. This is Vertigo from Alfred Hitchcock. And we have, for example, this neon sign who emits light physically when they recorded it. And what happens? It has, in the scene of the movie, there is this light coming in this room, and then all the room becomes green. Then it gets recorded on the film in that case. And then when you project it back, I say that the movie happens in the whole room, not just the screen, because your screen is bouncing back the light and it's going in all the rooms. This happens like with traditional films, but it also happens with digital screens directly, especially now that are LED based, because LED is a device that we have that has a double sort of identity. It makes light, the LED makes light, but as pixel can also build an image, but in fact is a lighting emitting device. So in my process to study what happens to these variations of light, I take, for example, a picture of a wall, a white wall in the room, where each second, and so you can see different type of colors that your room assumes. Gets. And then I make a soft collage with all the pictures, and then if you put them together, you see, for example, that scene that was lasting some minutes, it became, you see all these variations of green because of the neon sign you had at the beginning. So it's like this green sign has traveled through the media in the room. So you are getting light that is transferred from one place to another through a window. Through this window that is your screen. Okay, this is the whole movie, if you want to see it, and it's how it happens with all the variations. I didn't have time to put the slide, but maybe I'll find it later as a special slide, because they told me this is a football screen, and I also have a football game represented in this way, but I will find it at the end, because it's one thing from the last minute. Okay, now let's go back. We're having this in mind. When I was invited to Lux Helsinki this year by Ilka, he told me, he proposed me, do you have a proposal for this screen that we have in this newly created building? So when I saw this screen, I immediately saw that it was not just an image, but it was influencing the space in front of it. And so if you note, now I will have a small movie of what was happening there, and you will see, for example, in the snow, what is the color of the place in front of there, for example. You see what happens, especially because there was this very quick advertising. You see all the space was influenced, so it's not just the screen that stays there. Okay, so this is the basic that I saw, and then if you quickly look in this part with the part of the advertising, you have a very quick light variations. So this is like the technique I use for the movie in the room. I did it on the snow in front of the screen, but this means that the space in front of screen is altered from a light point of view from the screens, from this window. Okay. Okay, so then I thought, when you have this type of light in your city, what would have happened if there was not this screen? What is a natural light of the city, of the world, let's say, and it's the moon. So you have the moonlight. This is the name of the piece. It's called like this because my intention is, let's try to put back moonlight in the city, taking advantage of this screen and this window. So, in fact, I didn't like to have just the image, because then you focus on the image and you forget about the light. And in fact, what I wanted to do is to make the space have that color of the moon, but not the image, because the image was a bit you get distracted and but I wanted to focus on light. So, for example, I made a software algorithm that mixes all the pixels together, keeping them original from the image, but then moves them in a way that you cancel the image, but you keep the light. And I had it, the algorithm is very simple. It just takes 2 pixels at a time and swaps them continuously until you lose the image. And then the effect is like when you had the old analog TV without the signal. I don't know if I think it doesn't happen now with digital TV, it's black. Now, when we were younger, you had this type of image of random things, but here, the image, it's tuned by the different moons. I have collected 100 moons on Flickr with royalty-free and used this moon as a color source to color the space. And when I scramble all the moons, they all become you have these patterns, more or less. And so you have different colors, because moon can have different color naturally, or because people who had captured the picture maybe made some change. For me, it's okay. For me, the media is just a color source. And I even keep the strange low-quality moons. You maybe, if you see it, you will see it, the screen is outside here, you will maybe see some low-quality images, but then that's not the focus. You need to focus on the light that comes back from it. And here it was the install. It was a very huge screen, like 12 by 12 meters. And the fact that people went there and like stayed in the moon, like it was, it's quite interesting. Let's see what happens here, how people live this installation, because I hadn't thought about people being so close to the moon like they happen here. I didn't expect this, but it turns out that the bigger quantity of Instagram images are like this, with people in front, or either there is a dog, like a wolf that's howling to the moon. Yeah, there is that. Okay, and what happens after this installation, that in the long time of 360 seconds, for example, you have very smooth variations of light, and so you have the sort of virtual natural light, let's call it this way. Okay, so what can we say after this small journey about screens and light, and the fact that we call it the virtual window? In Italy, I don't know outside, but they call it LED wall. This type of screens, they call it LED wall. And I think that from the architecturally point of view, they should not be called LED wall, but LED window. So this is a summary, because you need to be aware, people who build this in cities need to be aware of that the effect is like to putting a window in the building. Okay. Thank you.